Do cultures evolve? That's a valid question, isn't it? We seem to think so. Things change over time. They're not constant. But is that in some way comparable? Is that in some way the same thing? Is that like Darwinian evolution in some sense? That's a big question, and I think it's going to be a question that's going to be just as hotly debated in the near future as it has been in the past. But I do think that we'll make significant headway with it. To what extent are genetic evolution and mimetic evolution, the evolution of cultural units somehow, or rather units of culture, comparable? For instance, genes are information, fundamentally. Well, information is contained within culture, and it is also passed down generations, or a bit like bacterial evolution, right? Sideways, horizontally. So I can say something to you, and you are the same generation in some sense, in a biological sense perhaps, as I am, and you can learn something from me or vice versa. However, if you think of generation as literally it's generating anew, for instance, the game that the British tend to call Chinese whispers and the Americans tend to call telephone, where you sit in a circle and one person says something and then it goes down, or rather through the circle, and then by the end of it, the last person next to the first person who started, but the last person hears something completely different than what was said. Of course, this information which is copied, which is replicated, isn't always replicated with fidelity, as that last example shows. But what is the analogy? But are memes, are the units of culture the same as genes? The term would suggest so. Memes is indeed just the cultural formulation of genes from mimicking, cultures mimicking behavior from others. So that's mimicking, just as genes are generating life, in a sense, generating life forms. But how strong is the analogy? That's a question to think about. I don't know if we have good answers yet. I find the idea certainly enthralling and very interesting, and I'm sure there's something in it. I'm sure there's a lot in it, in fact. It's certainly informed some of the work I've done. But I am also suspicious of how far you can take it. Now, I have no firm opinions. We'll see. I think we need to do a lot of work in the area, and I hope we do, because I think it's a fast-growing field. And by truly exploring that and being very critical, but also accepting of findings, then I think we can get some sort of handle on it. But science being science, you'll hopefully never run out of questions. So, let's all think about that, shall we? What are the analogies between biological Darwinian evolution and so-called cultural evolution? Bye for now. Thanks for watching. Have a good think. Ciao.